3. Eisenhower, an hour 390 to downtown, 46 minutes from Mannheim. Stevenson, an hour and 10 minutes, 355 to the drive. The ride is 35 minutes from 95th. I-57, 40 minutes, I-80 to the merge with a wreck at Holston in the left lane. Bishop Ford, 35 minutes from 8094 after an earlier collision near 103rd. Northbound Tri-State, it's heavy in pockets from the Plainfield Road area to 47th and from the Reagan tollway much of the way to Balmoral. Southbound, there's a brief delay, 137 to 176. I'm Jim Pelamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center. Bit of drizzle, icy conditions, and a winter weather advisory is up until noontime. Thick cloud cover through the afternoon, a high of 38. Turning partly cloudy and bitterly cold overnight, low 16. It's 33 at O'Hare. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Mortgage Update with Dan Frio. Every Saturday morning at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Sean singing, right?
Yeah.
With Bruce Wolf. This is your duet.
You and Bruce sound like to me.
Oh, howling dogs. Ooh. Good Wednesday morning. Welcome back to the Dan and Amy Show with Sean Thompson filling in for Dan Proft, who will be back tomorrow. So don't worry. He's
Be
doing.
sure and ask him what he was doing. Put him on the grill.
He's a do-gooder. He's doing something with some big, high-profile people in Washington, D.C. today. Yeah. I think he's actually going to be there to walk the articles of impeachment up to the Capitol.
I think he's got his Pee Wee Herman suit on.
Oh, wait.
He shows up. All he needs is a box of popcorn. Freak.
All right, so this next topic, it's a book that I recently read, Never Left Behind, because I found it fascinating what happens to a dog during divorce. And sometimes when people get divorced, a couple, and they don't have kids, one of the spouses will take the dog, and you'll never see the dog again. So with that, let's welcome to the program the author, Paul Barthel, animal rights activist and founder of Voices for Pets, and author of the said book, Never Left Behind, One Man's Refusal for Status Quo, How We Treat Animals. Good morning, Paul, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Amy, Sean. How are we doing this morning?
Good, Paul.
We're good. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us about your story and about your dog and what happened when you got divorced.
Well, to be clear, first off, I'm not some bleeding heart liberal. I'll put you guys at rest. I'm not lying in the roadways or hugging trees, demanding that you subscribe to these notions that we're going to discuss. Rather, as humans, it's just perhaps simply asking that we recognize that animals feel much the same way as we do, experience pain much as we do, sadness and longing. And the assumption, due to our superiority and our fortitude of knowledge and as humans, does not allow us for mistreatment or neglect that we see rampant across the country and other worlds. So,
all right. So tell us your story.
Yeah. Well, the book in particular, while it covers many years on the line as a chef, where I worked over 30-something years, also dives into what over 50-something % of an experience, that being divorce, and through that, separating through the properties and the 401ks, the house, and of course, animals in many cases. And in my particular case, at the time I was traveling a lot through work, and I took my dog on the road on occasion, and by mistake I let it be known my closeness to the pet, and upon return of one of the week-long trips, he was gone. And I never seen him again for over 3 years. And he would be later used as a tool during the divorce process.
She took the dog, Paul?
Negotiating to.
She took the dog?
Hid the dog. Yeah, hid the dog. It's not uncommon.
It's not uncommon. I've heard of this story before. I mean, it happened. So didn't you try to sneak around to try and get your dog back? And what's your dog's name again? I forget. What's...
It's a Pepper, very common name. I could have went and retrieved the dog. I had high suspicions where he was at, but it would have gotten ugly. And unfortunately, the courts at the time...
I got a couple Melrose Park guys you could have called, Paul. They'll get you that
Okay,
dog.
so wait,
Go ahead.
at the time, what were you saying, Paul?
Well, at the time, fortunately, the laws have since changed in some of the states, but at the time, our pets were viewed as a table or lamp, and they're not recognized as living, breathing beings. And fortunately, these laws are changing. And for instance, Senator Holmes, Linda Holmes from Aurora, she's a Democrat. I won't hold that against her.
No.
She had the wherewithal. She's a strong animal rights. I don't like to use the word activist. It sounds so forbearing and insistent.
No, she loves animals.
How
We
about
get
proponent?
it. Yeah.
Proponent, very better word. But she's brought forth a lot of laws, and one of those laws that she backed was that animals are viewed as living, breathing beings and not to be used as tools during divorce. So now we can bring forth an arbitrator, and that those findings can be brought forward to the judge, not wasting taxpayer dollars, because I am sure there's a lot of people on your end that are rolling their eyes saying, oh boy, here we go. We got another liberal, and we're going to fight about our turtles in court or our pet hamsters.
No, you just made me stay married for another 10 years. No, I'm kidding. But let me ask you something, Paul. Couldn't you just negotiate for the guy?
I tried. Unfortunately, I tried. I let it be known, and we actually filed motion upon motion for visitation.
Lawyers.
On my end, naive at the time, I thought, well, maybe every 30 days we could just swap the dog, similar to child custody arrangements, and not have to see each other and do 30-day increments, and wouldn't hear of it. And I'm not trying to slander the other party by no means, and that's not what the book is about. It's not about the depressing subject of divorce. Actually, it's just more so about animal rights and recognizing the disparity and the lack of resources available when confronted with this type of situation.
So tell me, when you finally, I cannot imagine. I cannot live without my dog Bunky for a day. I get anxious. She's a service dog, too. So
here we go. Just get to the period of the story. Will you please?
But what was it like when you saw Pepper after 3 years?
It was incredible. Of course, it's in the book. Spoiler alert, but it's pretty obvious that we do become reunited after 3 years. It was incredible. There was 3 police officers in the garage. It goes into detail. There was a bit of an argument at the end that the divorce decree did not include Pepper.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the divorce decree, I reminded her attorney that all this is in transcripts in court of law, and they will be produced, and you will be held in contempt. So
she sounds lovely, Paul. Really. I completely understand why you were attracted to her in the beginning. My goodness. All right,
so on that final day, the officers were in the garage, and it goes into detail where the door, this is true, it's not to sell books, but the door slowly opened, leading into the house, and his black nose comes at the base of the crack of the door.
Oh.
And
sure.
Yeah, and it was an emotional moment.
Is
but I think
Is Pepper still with us?
He is still with us. He just turned 12.
Oh.
He's got some customary to a lot of our dogs, the breeds that we have. He has some arthritis in his back legs and trouble climbing stairs and so forth. But fortunately still.
Is he like Patty Hearst now, where you have to reintroduce him to the family and tell him who everybody is?
No, he's just everything is a little more labor intensive, getting around and so forth. But he's on medication.
Welcome to the club.
But,
So now in Illinois, when you get a divorce and there's a pet involved, children's one thing.
Steal the dog is the moral of this story. Just take the dog and go to Florida.
So the judge decides, you have to both sides present their case, and then the judge decides where the pet goes?
Yeah, he has more say-so. We actually petitioned the state of Illinois, the Illinois State Assembly, with Pepper's bill. And in that bill, we suggested that mandatory arbitration be as part of those parties that fight over the animal. So, people on the other end are thinking, oh, boy, here we go, more arguments in court. Well, upwards of 50% of people say, well, you just keep the dog. I work too many hours. I never liked the dog to begin with. So a lot of those cases, they tend to settle themselves. But for those people that have sincere interest and do not want to give up the dog or maybe shared custody, which the judge can implement, There's one case where this is not new. My case is not new by any means. One gentleman spent up to $90,000. He was separated for 4 years from his dog, spent $90,000, and was eventually reunited.
Wow.
And so
$90,000.
when this story broke, it was picked up by the Associated Press. It was in the Tribune, the Sun-Times. It was a lot of publications. When the story broke, I was swamped with emails of similar cases, and it was surprising, actually. And that's one reason why I thought, you know what, we need some laws changed, and that's where the book came from.
I know somebody who they were getting divorced. She took the dog and she put the dog down just to mess with the husband for wanting a divorce.
I've heard that.
Yeah, she was
Oh,
like
you've
a
heard of that,
Gambino
right?
crime family member.
No, that's what,
Paul,
yeah. You don't want me? Well, I'm taking your dog.
how long were you married?
9 years. Yeah, 9 years.
Wow.
Man,
And
Yeah, and there's no blame in who was responsible for the
Oh, we
marriage
don't
at the
wanna-
time. I owned my own restaurant where I was working, ungodly hours.
But whatever
Yeah.
you did, she sure was mad at you. That's for sure.
Sean.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Up and up.
I mean, I'm assuming he hit on his sister-in-law. I don't know what happened for the
stop.
dog. I mean, even
but
in a
if
divorce,
you-
you say, listen, honey, I want to have the dog.
Never separate a man and his dog. And I mean, there's no bias there, but there's just some connection. And I don't mean any disrespect to women, of course, but we were close, and maybe that was my fault that I allowed that to be displayed. And it's a divorce is a chess game. And,
Is it a boy dog? Is he one of the guys? Is that why you
His
love him?
name's Pepper. Hey,
Of course.
All right.
Of course
last
he's a
question
man.
before we let you go. Does she
Yeah.
have any visitation rights to Pepper?
On the last day of the trial,
Yeah.
through it all, and this is in the transcripts, I said, after winning Pepper, I said, you can still see him. It was never my intention to hurt anyone, to win sole custody. I was willing to share 3 years earlier before all this had to take place. Unfortunately, I did have to sacrifice some possessions, and I would do it again without hesitation.
So does she take you up on that, though? Does she spend time with Pepper?
No. Nope, there was
Yeah,
never
she sounds like a
any-
real peach. Next time, just hang in there and outlive her, will you?
There was never any emails nor exchange of phone calls that was going to take place. So he's been with me ever since.
Well, congratulations, and give Pepper a
And
big
congratulations,
hug for us.
you're done with that. Now move on, brother. And never give a woman your last name from this day forward. You get married again, I'm running you over with my car.
All right, Paul,
you're-
where can we pick up the book?
It's available everywhere. I just saw it in the airport. I travel, so it's available at Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I'll be doing a book signing tomorrow night at Barnes and Noble, and in Orland Park, and Books A Million. You can find it everywhere. But yeah, so
That's
thanks for
great.
having me on. The show is really refreshing, and love the show.
All right,
you,
thank
Paul.
you, Paul. And thanks to
Thanks,
Pepper.
guys.
That's Paul Barthel, animal rights activist, founder of Voices for Pets, and author of the book Never Left Behind, One Man's Refusal for Status Quo, How We Treat Animals.
That's going to keep a lot of people single. I love it. That's a public service message, that last segment.
Yes, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
I have cabin fever already. Chicago weather is so unpredictable, and it could be months before we get outside for a little warm sunshine.
What about using the sunroom? We can sweep out the cobwebs. I can patch up the glass with duct tape. Get that raccoon out.
No. We need a complete overhaul of the sunroom. I'm calling Sunspace by Arborview.
Rediscover your dream sunroom. That existing sunroom or screened-in porch that's been neglected or used for storage can be a beautiful living space waiting to come alive. It just needs TLC from the sunroom experts at Sunspace by Arborview. Convert your screened-in porch into a 3-season room or turn an old, outdated porch into a fresh new retreat free of bad weather, bugs, dust, and